Well, good to see you. Today is a big webinar. There's almost 900 people registered for this webinar. I know a lot of you are going to watch the recording because you emailed me frantic today saying, will this be recorded? So yes, we will email this out to everyone once we get the recording back from Zoom, so you can watch it again if you would like to do that. So let's jump into today. If in the chat box, I'd appreciate it if you would tell me what you most want to learn today. I do have content prepared, but I also believe in answering the questions of the people. So I want to know what you want to learn today, and just throw that into the chat box and I'll keep my eye on it and address those as we can. So here's what we're going to do for the next 30 minutes is we're going to talk through how to call old leads without being awkward. I love how much interest there's been in this webinar. It was actually more than I was expecting. So I'm glad to know you guys are working on calling these older leads. Today, we're going to talk about how do you open the call. We're also going to talk through what do you say when they actually pick up. That can be a little awkward sometimes. And then what is the strategy if they don't pick up? Meaning, okay, I called an older lead, they didn't pick up. When do I call them again and how often? What do I say? Things like that. So that's the focus for today. I see in the chat box here that some of you, haven't called leads in 5+ years. What's the script for that or the dialogue? Good. Yeah, I think a lot of this we will cover. So what we'll do at the end, I'll open it up for questions. If you typed something in and I didn't cover it, we'll do some questions at the end. And the goal is that we're all out of here in about 30 minutes. Okay. All right. So let's talk through how to open the call. How many of you have had people hang up on you while you're still introducing yourself? I have. So you're in good company. So I'm going to teach you today how to reduce it. So understand that I'm not expecting the strategies today to make it that no one ever hangs up on you. But what if we got less people to hang up and more people to engage? That's the goal, right? And I would actually say if no one's hanging up on you, you simply may not be calling enough people, right? Let me just share a quick thing with you to hopefully encourage your spirit in that way, and then I'll give you the strategy. But I used to work for a university and we were huge. We had over 100,000 students. It was a huge university. And I found a website one day that had 1,000 students bashing our school. Well, how would you feel if you worked for a company and you found a website that had 1,000 people bashing the school or the product that you're working with, right? Like I felt pretty yucky finding that website. And I was newer in sales and I went to my manager and I was like, Cambria, I found this website. There's like 1,000 people that hate our school. And I was really just upset about it. And she looked at me and she said, Anna, how many students do we have? Well, about 100,000. What percent is 1,000 people of 100,000? It's 1%, right? And she said, if we were a small school doing nothing, we would still have people that don't like us because that's just how it is. But maybe it would be 5 people. But because we're making a huge impact in the world, our 1% is 1,000 people. And my takeaway from that conversation was, if I want to make a big impact in the world, I do need to accept there's going to be a level of people that may not accept it or like it, or they might hang up on me, which is what's bringing this up right now. But that doesn't mean that I'm not doing good. And in fact, if no one is hanging up on me ever, I probably am simply not calling enough people. Are y'all tracking with me here? And I hope that encourages your spirit. So that really was like a game-changing day for me when I realized, 1,000 people, that's only 1%. That means we're making a huge impact. And that's actually a good thing. So what we're going to do today is talk through how do you open a call so that they don't hang up on you. Take notes on this versus taking a picture of the screen, because you will learn more as you write. That's going to help get this in your brain. So the way you're going to open a call with an older lead that you haven't talked to and who knows how long is you're going to say their name and your name and where you're calling from. And then you're going to say, thank you for taking my call. Let me ask you real quick. What is the psychology? Why are we saying thank you for taking my call? And you can unmute yourselves or use the chat box.
I would imagine because they have a choice. They don't have to take the call.
Yeah, they don't have to take the call.
Makes us seem like a real person.
Yeah. Oh, hey, Monica. Yeah, it makes us seem like a real person. Yeah, it shows appreciation. It disarms them. You guys are putting a lot of great stuff in the chat box. Have you ever heard that gratitude is the highest form of communication? Mm-hmm. So when someone gives you gratitude, it just kind of elevates you. I just got done recording 3 marketing videos, and basically they were saying gratitude. I feel like I'm going to be good for the next 5 weeks, right? And it was short, super short. but just the gratitude is very uplifting. And so it's a form of gratitude. From a psychological perspective, it makes it hard for them to now hang up on you. So a lot of people are tempted to skip "thanks for taking my call." And in actuality, that's a key factor in getting them to stay on the phone. It is very hard to hang up on someone who just said, "thank you for taking the call." It's just hard to do that. What we're not going to say is, "how are you?" Why do you think we're not saying, "how are you"? How does that usually go for you if you do it?
Anytime someone does that for me, I get super annoyed. I'm like, get to the point.
Yeah, especially if you don't know them. It's an unknown call and they're like, "is this Anna?" "Yes." "How are you?" "who are you?" I don't even know who this is. So it's, and then the other thing is, they often don't answer you with the real truth unless they want to complain and they're having a bad day. That is what I have found. I've been doing this since 2006. And if they actually answer you honestly, it's usually complaining. And now what do? It's a terrible way to start the call, right? And so the way that you want to handle that, instead of saying, "how are you?" you're going to say, "thank you for taking my call." And that is going to be that rapport building statement. Okay. All right. So it's going to sound like, "hey, Ulissa, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. Thank you so much for taking my call today." And that's how that first portion sounds. Then I find it helpful to say, "I know I'm calling you out of the blue." And I personally like to kind of chuckle while I say it, because what I find is they are going to say it if I don't. Have you ever called an old lead and they're like, "who is this? Where are you calling from?" And I started noticing if I said it, "hey, Monica, Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. Thanks for taking my call. I know I'm calling you a little bit out of the blue right now." Most of the time they kind of laugh with me like, "yeah," but that's it. That addresses all of that. And it does really reduce "who are you and why are you calling?" It reduces that. And then I like to say, "a while back, you expressed interest in moving." There's a key reason that statement is so powerful, and I'll tell you why. When I say, "a while back, you expressed interest in moving," that prevents me from having to look up the notes to see, are they a buyer or a seller, right? Let me ask a question, and you can use the chat box here. When you go to call an older lead and you look at the notes before you dial, how long, if you had to estimate, how long do you read the notes before you actually dial? Tell me in the chat box, or you can unmute yourself. 30 seconds. Some of you don't do it. I'm wondering if I'm asking the question right, because a lot of people say 1 to 2 minutes. And maybe you guys are just, maybe you've taken this webinar before, because you're all saying like 30 seconds, which is much better. Here's the thing though, no matter how long it takes you, even if it's only 30 seconds, one of the best pickup ratios you will get is 25%. We've studied this. So what that means is, on a good day, 1 out of 4 people will pick up the phone. So if I'm spending even only 30 seconds, which I usually hear more like 1 to 2 minutes, but even if it's only 30 seconds, that means every 2 minutes, I'm losing 90 seconds. And that might not sound like much, but when you add that up over the course of a day, that can add up to being close to an hour. Okay. So what it really is if you're taking time to read all of the history notes, what you're really doing is taking time away, and only 1 out of 4 is going to pick up anyway on a really good day. More average is 1 out of about 6 calls pick up the phone. Does that sound about right to you guys from what you've seen? Kind of depends on the lead source you're calling. But the thing is, if they rarely pick up, and then also, what if their situation has changed? So back to Austin, what if I go to call Austin, and the last time I called him 6 months ago, he was in a bad mood. And he also said, "I'm not moving. I'm never moving." Well, I don't want that in my head when I call him today. What if he's in a better mood today? What if his situation has changed? So that is why we say, "a while back, you expressed interest." It keeps me from having to read the notes to know how to start this call. It doesn't matter if they're a buyer or a seller. Okay. The other thing is, please do not say, "I'm cleaning up our database." I've heard calls like that before. So do not say, "I'm cleaning up our database." I would also encourage you away from the word "you inquired." Now, is it wrong to say that you've inquired? No, that's not wrong, but it sounds so businessy. What do you guys think? What do you think that sounds businessy? You inquired. To me, that just sounds very cold and sterile. in my brain, I'm a very visual person. I picture that we're on CSI, like one of those crime shows, and now we're going down into the basement where all the file boxes are to pull out an old case, right? That's what I'm picturing. When you say I inquired or we're cleaning up the database, that's where my brain goes. So it's a lot friendlier to say a while back you expressed interest, and that will really prevent to getting tongue tied. That will protect you from having to read all the notes. And then you want to go straight into what had you thinking about moving. The reason that you wanted to ask them about motivation out of the gate is motivation is what gets people into action. And I'm not saying what has you wanting to move today. It's what had you thinking about moving. I find that they go much better with that question. So again, here we go from the top. Hey, Sue, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. Thank you so much for taking my call. I know I'm calling you a little out of the blue. A while back, you expressed interest in moving. What had you thinking about moving back then? And then now they can off to the races, okay? And that's the best way to get into a conversation. Now, I see some questions coming in. I will get to those at the end of the content, so just hang tight for some of those specific scenarios, and I'll make sure that we get back to that. I do see, Nicole, your question, with this level of a generic statement, make them feel like you don't really know who they are. I don't find that. I don't find that at all. I find they usually respond very well to this opener. I think the key is to be smiling. A while back, you expressed interest. That they are not hearing that as generic. They're not hearing that as she's using a general statement to not read the notes, because you are saying a while back you expressed interest in moving, and that's true. So it feels personal to them. And I see comments about like looking up records and all that. It does take a lot of time. You kind of answered that yourself. What we have to remember, guys, is in a normal market, it takes 20 pickups. So people picking up the phone, it takes 20 of those to set an appointment in a normal market. What we're finding right now in today's market is it's closer to 30 to set an appointment. So that is why efficiency matters. We have to understand that every time I stop to read all the history notes and to look everything up, I'm actually losing valuable time and efficiency, and it's only prolonging how long it will take me to get to that 20 to 30 contacts to set an appointment. Does that make sense? Now, if you call someone and they moved, they'll tell you. So that's why I think you don't have to look it up. You know, if I call Trevor and I'm like, hey, a while back you expressed interest, I know this because they've done it. They'll say, oh man, I just moved. And then I'm kind of killing myself for getting behind on my database, right? How many of us have had those calls, right? Yeah, it's kind of sickening when you call and you're like, oh, they just moved. Yeah. All right, so then let's keep going. And again, I'll answer a lot of the questions coming in and just at the end of the call here. So when they do pick up the phone, or actually even while it's ringing, it's fine to look at the notes while it's ringing. And that's the key, because now I'm not losing efficiency. So say that I want to call Irene. I might have Irene's record up in me and I'm going to punch in the number and call. While it's ringing, that's when I'll scan the notes real quick and see, is there anything here that can help me know how to open this call? But if she picks up on the first ring, it's fine because I have this right here. So it's okay if she picks up on the first call. Now, if I read the notes enough while it was ringing to see, oh, she talked to someone back in March. Okay, hey, Irene, hey, thank you so much for taking my call. We actually spoke to you back in March, and back then you were considering moving to downsize. And I'm going to fill in whatever I can off of the note. But I'm just going to be real with y'all. How many of you maybe have been on a team or you've inherited leads from someone and you don't have a clue? You don't have a clue what the history is, or they're your own notes and you're like, why was I so bad at taking notes when I called this person before? Because I have no idea anything about them. Again, you don't need to worry about that. Just call with that quality, solid opener out of the gate and be friendly, be smiling when you say it, kind of chuckle when you say you're calling out of the blue, and that will help get you into conversation. Okay. And then the main thing you want to find out about them on that first call, and hopefully it will just turn into an appointment, but the main thing that you want to get is motivation on this call. That is the main thing that you want to get. And let me address one more thing and then we'll talk more about motivation. Some of them will be like, wait, who are you? How did you get my number? That can be really awkward, right? That question threw me the first few times I got it. What I've learned to say is a while back you expressed interest in moving and I'm simply following up. So what had you thinking about moving back then? Without a pause, no pausing. If there is a pause, they will fill the silence and they will usually fill it with more questions or objections. You just want to get them moving on into the conversation. Okay. So if Renee is like, who are you and how did you get my number? What is this? Say, yeah, Renee, it looks like a while back you expressed interest in moving and I'm simply calling to follow up. What had you thinking of moving back then? And just stay the course with confidence. And I'm not saying that will solve all of it, but many times they'll go with you into that. Okay. All right. So you do want to get motivation very quickly. And here's the thing, what I find with a lot of older leads, they can be a gold mine because no one's called them in a while, right? How many of you have called brand new leads and they're like, oh, everybody's calling me today. Why are all the realtors calling me today? But when I call leads, which by the way, there's a way around that too, but we're not training on that today. But when you call older leads, they don't have anybody calling them. Their situation may have changed. Write this statistic down. A lot of internet leads, 3 to 6% will do something right away. So if I got 100 internet leads this week, I probably set 3 to 6 appointments for someone who's interested right now. That means that 94 to 97 people are going to do something in the future, and they're hiding in these older leads. There's a lot of money hiding in your older leads, a lot of money hiding in your older leads. So I see questions about voicemails and all that. By the way, when I'm teaching, I'm not able to really watch that chat box. So if you have a question for me, maybe hang on to it till the end because you'll just need to retype it. But I will give you a strategy for some voicemails here in just a second. Okay, so you want to get that motivation very quickly out of the gate because that is the thing that will get them into action. How many of you have procrastinated on something that you know you want to do and you need to do it, but you're just nobody's making you do it, so you keep procrastinating, right? Right now, the room beside me is a guest room that I want to paint, and I've wanted to paint it for a while now, and I just haven't because who wants to paint? But if you asked me my motivation for having a beautiful guest room and I answered you, I'd probably go buy the paint when I'm done this webinar, right? Because I want that. But painting, gross. Who wants to do that? I don't enjoy it. So I'm going to procrastinate. Guys, what I'm about to say might be the most important thing on this entire webinar. We have to understand that there are some people that have to move because they just had a job transfer. Maybe someone passed away in the family and they must sell the house. So there are a measure of people that absolutely must move. But can we all just agree that the vast majority of people, it's a want to, they don't have to. They want to move. They want the bigger house. They want to downsize. But if nobody's making them, it's very easy to procrastinate on something as overwhelming as moving. Can we all just agree to that? Like if I don't have to move, it's a lot easier to think, oh, I'll just do it later. They have to pack up their house. If they have kids, trying to do all that while you have kids is a nightmare. Maybe they have to sell a house and buy one. That's two transactions that can be very overwhelming for people. They got to get out bank statements if they're getting a loan and talk to a lender. That is overwhelming. And what I want you to hear right now, if this is your one takeaway from this webinar, is we have to get really good at seeing past people who say that they want to wait. I want you to consider this is someone that might be highly motivated, who's just very overwhelmed, so they're procrastinating, just like we do. And something that's going to make a big difference in your career is how good you are at digging out their motivation. When motivation is in front of you, you get into action. Years ago, my whole sales team, we went to a gym on our lunch break, because we were all thinking about joining the same gym. And we all went, we explored the gym together, we talked to the guy, and we all agreed that we would sign up later. And that was like, okay, we're not signing up while we're in there, okay? Nobody sign up while we're in there. And when we went to leave, the guy at the counter said, well, what's the benefit of not signing up for the gym? We had no answer, right? Because there is no benefit to not taking a step forward towards our goals. We didn't have an answer for that. And guess what? We signed up for the gym. So that's a good question to ask people once you have their motivation. So maybe they say, well, 6 months ago or 5 years ago, we were considering a bigger house, but I think we've changed our mind. Well, explore that. What made you want a bigger house? What made you want to downsize? Whatever it was. And then once you have that motivation, ask the question, well, what is the benefit of waiting to get that bigger house? What is the benefit of waiting to be closer to work? And you can even acknowledge to them, you know, if I'm talking to Donna and she's like, yeah, I want to, but we don't have to, and I'm just going to wait. I might even say, you know, Donna, I get it. Moving is a big headache. There's no way around it. But what's the benefit of waiting? Because you just said that you really want to be closer to work to have more time with your kids. And then just be quiet. You may have to practice hitting mute. What is the benefit of waiting? And then hit mute on your phone. And don't talk until they answer that question. Okay, that's a good practice. Another great question is, what would have to happen for you to buy a house? So the what would have to happen question, in fact, some of you could use that probably in your own personal life. When someone has a goal and they're feeling overwhelmed about moving towards it, asking them, hey, what would have to happen, Ulissa, for you to be able to buy that bigger house and be closer to work? What would have to happen? And then again, hit mute. If you know that you're tempted to fill in the silence, hit mute and wait until they answer that question. Let them think about that. That is a very powerful question. Years ago, I wanted to go on a 3-week vacation to Hawaii, but I thought, well, I teach webinars for a living. You know, how am I going to do that? And I sell real estate. Like, how am I going to be away for 3 weeks? And my friend asked me, Anna, what would have to happen for you to step away from work for 3 weeks? And I had been thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking I couldn't. And her asking me what would have to happen for you to do that for 3 weeks, I suddenly started coming up with answers because it's a powerful question. So get their client motivation and then ask them what would have to happen for you to be able to go ahead and make that step. And then you also might have people who say we changed our minds. And for those people, it can be really powerful to say, well, it sounds like we're in plan B. What was plan A? I'm just curious. And I love to say, I'm just curious, because it makes it like, I'm not trying to get you to move tomorrow, right? It's just, I'm just curious. What was plan A back when you were wanting to move? What was that? And get them talking and ask questions about it. In the class Mega Lead Conversion, we teach a whole hour on how to dig into client motivation. That's not the topic of today, but just know there is training for that available in Mega Lead Conversion. Okay. So motivation is what will get them into action. Remember, logic is what gets people thinking, but emotion is what gets people acting. So when you're calling older leads, in my experience, one of two things will happen. You'll either call people who will say, I can't believe you called me today. I just was talking about this and we're ready now. And that's because they were an internet lead from a year ago and they were one of the 94 people that weren't ready yet. And now they are. That's kind of option one. Option two is they've changed their mind and I don't know, we're just going to wait. And you've got to get really good at not taking that as, okay, well, I'll follow up with you. Bye. I used to do that. And what you want to do instead is say, yeah, I totally get it. I'm curious though, what was plan A when you did want to move back then? What was motivating you back then? And get them talking about it. And you're going to be much more likely to get them into action. So let's talk through real quick what's the strategy to call older leads. Get ready to write this down. This is money making right here. When you use this strategy, you usually get 90% of people to either pick up or call you back off of a voicemail. Okay. All right. So when you're calling older leads, let's say that you have a database of 500 older leads and you're like, where do I even start? Okay. What I recommend that you do is say, pick a subset of them and call them on Monday. And I'm just using Monday as an example. And let's say that you get through 100 leads on Monday. All right. So you're going to call 100 leads on Monday. Can you guys still see me? There's a whiteboard on the screen. Did you all see the whiteboard? I'm not sure what just happened. Okay.
We did, and it went away. Gone now.
Okay. All right. I don't know how that just happened, but I'm glad it went away. All right. So here's the strategy. I'm going to pick a subset of leads to call, and let's just say it's Monday. And on Monday, I call and I reach out to 100 people and I make 100 dials. And let's say that out of that 100 people, 20 pick up. Well, those 20 people, I'm going to set tasks for based on our conversation. You know, maybe I talk to Renee And I realized I should probably call her in a week because she's actually interested and she's, we agree on a week follow-up. But that leaves 80 people that I did not reach. Well, here's the thing. If I try to call all 500 people in my database once before I call everybody twice, that's going to take forever. But if I now call the 80 people that I didn't reach on Monday, if I call them on Tuesday, they're going to be more likely to pick up because now it's the second day in the row that my number is calling them, and that's going to create urgency. Who is this? There is a voicemail strategy, which I'll share in a moment. So I'm going to call Tuesday, the 80 people that I didn't reach on Monday, and maybe 20 more people pick up the phone. Well, I'm going to set tasks for those 20 people. Maybe I'll remove some from my list because they said, don't call me again. And that now means that on Wednesday, I now have 60 people to call. Are y'all tracking with me here? And the idea is pick a list of people, whether it be 50 people, whether it be 100 people, whatever your capacity is. And just decide this week, I'm going to focus on this chunk of people for this time. And what you're going to do is you're going to leave voicemails. And a lot of people say voicemails don't work. And I think it's because a lot of people have not had training on voicemails. If you leave a voicemail and it's, hey, Laura, it's Anna, call me back. And that's all that you ever say on your voicemails. Those don't work. They will get frustrated. They will block you. They will not call you. But the voicemails that work, write this down real quick. You're going to leave a value add with a specific time to call you back. What do I mean by that? I might say, hey, Janet, this is Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. Hey, I wanted to let you know that I can save you time in your home search. Call me today by 5. So I can do that for you. Here's my number. So the value add is I can save you time. Maybe I'm calling Cindy and she's a seller lead. I might say, hey, Cindy, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group, Keller Williams. We just saved one of our clients 4% off of negotiating. So we actually help them make more money. Call me today by 5 o'clock so I can save you money too. Maybe we just won a multiple offer. So, hey, Katie, it's Anna calling from the Haro Group. We just helped one of our clients win a multiple offer against 4 people. Call me today so I can help you win in today's challenging market. Call me by 6 o'clock. When you give them a specific time to call you back by and a value add, that makes you more professional, which reduces the amount of people that will get annoyed at the calls. Okay. And what we find is usually by the 5th call, that's where you're starting to get that 90% callback or pickup ratio. Okay. You'll have some people that say, don't call me again. And actually, I want that because if you're not interested, I need you out of my call list. I don't want to be calling you if you are not interested. So that's actually the way to do it. Okay. Yeah, these are old leads. These are old leads. So let me do this real quick. Let me share with you real quick where to find more like this. And let's just acknowledge in a 30-minute webinar, I want to give you everything that I can in 30 minutes. And I just tried to do that. Did you learn something in the 30 minutes? I feel like I need a drink from talking so much. I need some water. But I can't teach you everything in 30 minutes. That's just not possible, right? If I could teach you everything you need to know in 30 minutes, I'd be a millionaire. So there is a place to learn more like this. It's a class that starts actually 2 weeks from today, the same time as this right here. And in that class, look at all the things we teach you in that class. We teach you how to dig for motivation. We actually spend 2 different classes just on digging up motivation, because that is the most important thing to get them into action. We teach you how do you uncover objections. So to be honest with you, I saw a lot of stuff in the chat box saying, what do you do here? And what do you do there? And what about this and that? And I thought to myself, unfortunately, we don't have time to cover all that here, but I did not see one question that came through that's not addressed in the class. Okay, of all the questions I saw. So in the class, we tell you how to pre-qualify people, buyer and seller. We go over objection patterns. We also go through, what do you do if they pick up and they're like, oh, I'm busy. Can you just call me later? The truth is they're probably not busy. And I'm not trying to be cynical here, but can we acknowledge that they picked up the phone? And if they truly were busy, they probably wouldn't have picked up the phone for a number they don't know. So we walk through, how do you handle somebody who says, I'm busy, can you call me later, right? The class is 18 sessions. And the way it became 18 sessions was we sat down and thought through what are all of the dialogues, all of the tracking systems, and all of the systems that we need to know to be successful in real estate. And we made a list, and that became 18 sessions. And so this class is 18 sessions. And by the end, you should know everything you need to know to be successful in lead generation and lead conversion. Okay. I have a student that's about 4 weeks in, and she told me I'm already setting 2 extra appointments a week beyond what I was 4 weeks ago. We did the math on that. With her conversions, that's 41 closings a year. And she's only about 4 weeks into the program out of 18. Okay. So the way to find out about that class and sign up is go to megaleadconversion.com, megaleadconversion.com. And yes, all sessions are recorded, just like this one. We'll send this to you through email. In the class, however, and actually, let me just pull it up on the screen so you can see what I'm talking about. But in the actual class, we do record every session. So that way, if you're with a client or you're out sick, that's fine. So here's a class I'm teaching right now. If you click on it, you can see here's all the sessions. So let me go ahead and click on, this one right here. And this is a class that's about halfway through, and here's the recording. So we post the recordings 24 hours after the class runs. And to find where to sign up, go to megaleadconversion.com, megaleadconversion.com. When you click on sign up, you'll see all of the sessions right here. You'll see the schedule. You'll see everything right there. Okay. So megaleadconversion.com, and that'll tell you the class information. All right, let me see the box here. Austin, does this give you free access to family reunion? It does not. That's only for mastery clients who pay $1,000 a month for one-on-one coaching. This program is $199. And then if you are on a team, you can have 2 people per contract within your own team. Okay. For context, this program used to be $800 a month for one person. And when COVID hit, I worked with MAPS to say, let's get this more accessible, because COVID, right? Like that March, everybody's freaking out. So we dropped it to $199 for 2 people per team, and we've just left it there. Okay. So it's already at a pretty significant discount. All right. I'm trying to see what other questions we have here in the chat box. You can also unmute if you have a question. So either about today's content or about the class. Because of time, if you could keep the questions to today's topic or the class. If you have a question about something totally unrelated, that would be better for email, simply because of time. But again, in the class, we cover language patterns, dialogues. I mean, we teach you what you need to know in that class. All right. Yep. It's an hour long. It is 1 hour long. And the class is live. It's actually much like this one, except it is, it's much like this one, except it's an hour. And usually at the end of every class, we have 15 minutes for Q&A. So this was 30 minutes, and I wanted to give you as much as I could in 30 minutes. And now we're kind of rushing through questions. But in the actual class, we typically have we always have an hour-long class, and typically we have 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. And that makes it pretty easy to get all your questions answered. I am teaching a class at Family Reunion. I don't know when it is just yet. I'm facilitating a panel. But if you watch the app, you can look up my name and see where. I would love to meet y'all in person. Evelyn, yes, text old leads. I do believe in that. And you can use a lot of the same methods. You're just going to type it. So I would still in a text ask them, what had you thinking about moving back then? You're just going to text it. I don't believe in relying on text, though, because it takes so long to have a conversation on text. I'm now losing my efficiency again. So I really believe in getting people on the phone, but I can use text to entice them to get on the phone with me. Okay. All right. Any other questions here? Oh yeah, Austin, you have a good point. A lot of voicemails become texts. Yeah. They just read. That's true. Are there any questions I missed in relation to the class? You can unmute yourselves if so. What if it's an old lead you never even spoke to? I would open it the same way. Hey, Francine, it's Anna. Come from the Howard Group, Keller Williams. Thanks for taking my call. I know I'm calling you a bit out of the blue. A while back, you expressed interest in moving. What had you thinking about moving back then? And just confident, just like that. Okay. Yes, the recording will be shared with you. It usually takes about 24 hours to get the recording back from Zoom, and then we will email it to all of you. Okay. Andrea said, what would be a good value add to offer a listing lead on a voicemail? You could even share about your brokerage. So you could say, you know, I'm part of a network of people, and all together we have over 100 years of real estate experience. You could say that. So if you're an individual agent and you're new, rely on the people around you. Even if you're not on a team, you're part of a brokerage. So get some stats from the brokerage that you can share until you build your own stats. You can also talk about your own track record. So, you know, when I was new in real estate, I didn't have real estate track record, but I had a sales track record. And I would refer to that track record, even though it wasn't real estate. And I think that's fine. Okay. Yeah, this is a one-time class. It's just a bonus session. I wanted to give you all a class for free. So here it is. We are going to do a session next week on how does the mega lead conversion class work. That is the only topic of that class. It's just how does the class work. So if you want to hang on 1 second, I'll actually see if I can find the registration link for that. It's going to take me a minute to dig it up. If you get emails from me, you'll get that then anyway, because I'll email out a reminder about it. But there is that class, just how does mega lead conversion work? And that'll be next Thursday. I'll actually be teaching it from Ireland. So you might hear some interesting accents in the background. Y'all have to watch Google Flights, okay? My friend called and said $350 for a round trip ticket to Ireland. Do you want to go? And in 30 minutes, we booked a ticket to Ireland, and then we hung up. Or then we finished booking the flight, and then we were like, what do you want to do? We didn't know, but we're going to Ireland next week. So I'll be teaching that webinar from somewhere in Ireland. Hopefully we have good internet, right? Okay. My email, I'll stick it here in the chat box. And again, megaleadconversion.com is that class. Yeah, $350 to Ireland. Y'all seem more interested in that. Yeah.
Are they making you fly the plane yourself, or? I
know, maybe I maybe should do some flight simulation before I get there. Yeah, Google Flights. That's what that is. Okay, I'm just seeing there's a couple of the chat boxes just flying by. I'm trying to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, megaleadconversion.com. And look out for that next week on how does the program work. We've got about 150 people registered for that. I expect it to be a highly energizing. And that class is just to go over how does the program work. And that way you get all of your questions answered. Okay, we are 10 minutes over. I do have another webinar to hop on, so I am going to have to close it. If I didn't get to your question, know that it bothers me and I care, but there's only so much time. So just know I'm sorry. But please, you can email me. The best thing would be megaleadconversion.com. We truly teach everything you need to know in that class. Someone gave a testimonial today that's 21 years in the business. And then I had a brand new agent give me a testimonial, actually back to back when I was recording today. And they both raved about the program. So if you are the type of person that, you know, I will show up, I'll take notes, even if it's on the recording. You know, if you can't join us live, but you know, I will watch the recording. I have no doubt that you will see increased business. The program has changed a lot of lives. The thing that made me happiest today was when the new agent told me, I have a lot of little kids at home and I'm trying to have as much time with them as possible. And this class has helped me be more efficient because I'm better. So because I'm better on the phone, I don't have to lead generate for as many hours because I get more done in the time that I'm lead generating. And that really filled my bucket to know more time with the kids as a result of the class. That really, really filled my bucket today.
And
so maybe
yeah,
go ahead, Carrie, real quick.
Oh, sorry. What if we're texting? Like, you know, some people won't answer and you want to, what quickly could I say to them? Would I write the script out on text or?
Yeah, just, hey, what has you thinking about moving? What had you thinking about moving?
Okay.
That's what I would recommend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And in the class, we spend a lot more time talking about that. Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah, Juan, I see your question. What do you do if they say it's none of my business about their motivation? I wish I had unlimited time right now, and we simply don't, but we cover that in the class. We talk about what to do if they're a little hostile towards you, because they can be hostile sometimes, right? We talk about how to navigate all that. We just simply don't have time. We're already 11 minutes over. megaleadconversion.com, where you can find more. Starts in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. All right, guys, I trust I'll see you soon. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in a future class somewhere. Bye, everyone.